What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Wedding Planning Podcast. I'm your co-host, Amanda.
And I'm your co-host, Monica.
Welcome back to another episode. Today we have a very special guest, Miss Katie Eyre from Brie Banquet. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Welcome.
Thanks, gals.
I'm so excited to have you here. I feel like, we see you at all the events, and some of our clients have booked you in the past, and now it's finally your time to dish all the details about your amazing business. So tell us about yourself and your business, Katie.
All right. Well, there's lots of things about myself, but basically, to sum it up to appeal to this specifically, I am, I'm just a passionate, cheese and flavor obsessed solopreneur. And Brie Banquet is over 5 years old now. Started as Canada's second grazing catering company. And 5 years later, here we are. It's kind of morphed, COVID happened, and we're kind of getting back to the roots of it. Boutique catering company focused on aesthetics and cheese and charcuterie and small bites.
And it's so good that I will never forget the dill pickle hummus. And yes, I'm still dying for you to jar the dill pickle hummus.
Don't get me started on the hummus. For anyone listening, you have to go check out Katie's Instagram. We'll have it linked. She just makes the most beautiful, appetizing. We'll get into more about what she supplies as her business, but it's just so beautiful, and you do such a good job.
Oh, thank you.
I'd love to know, how did the name Brie Banquet come about? Like, it's such a cute, catchy name.
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I mean, the name was a struggle initially. I knew that I didn't want to I wanted to kind of like leave it open. Brie was going to be like a focus, Brie cheese. It just kind of, I wanted to give the idea of, like larger scale catering. It started off just as a grazing company, platters and boards and boxes and grazing tables still, but I wanted to make sure it was open so that if I kind of expanded into more catering. So big fan of alliteration, and I didn't want to have the grazing in there I didn't want to kind of limit the business for potential in the future. And I don't know. It's
I love the name
now.
Perfect.
Lots of people often actually call me Brie. They think that's my name. So I used to correct everyone. Now I'm just like, oh, whatever. That would be so convenient. But
like, hey, Brie, and you're like, hey.
Yeah, totally. Actually, my accountant just called me that the other day, and I was like, oh man.
It's Katie. So what does Brie Banquet offer exactly?
Yeah, so we've kind of pared it down now to grazing tables, so cheese and charcuterie focused, big spreads. Also, we have a whole bunch of really amazing small bites, and our cheesecakes, super popular. So not actually cake, it's cheese wheel towers. So we've kind of trying to get out of calling it cakes, because that can be a bit confusing, but they are set up and designed, as you guys know, in the shape or style of a cake. And that's it in a nutshell, I guess. And we also do graze boxes. I've done a monthly subscription program as well. So that was one of the first things that I did with Brie Banquet. So every month we send out different combination of cheeses and charcuterie with little description cards and full details on that. So super fun, cool thing, just to try a bunch of new local vendors, things like that. So over COVID, we kind of morphed into more like a gifting company.
Mhm.
But we're kind of swinging back the other way where we started, which is awesome. So yeah,
Nice.
still
I
do
need a
like,
description of cheese.
yeah, it's really a cool thing. Yeah, it's like almost, yeah, been running for 5 years. So yeah, it's a really cool program. But yeah,
Awesome.
so big spreads, easy kind of nothing passed, nothing plated, no warmers, chafing stuff, just kind of really simple, but really beautiful ingredients. And yeah, just the each display is different. It's like edible art, so that's
It
kind of
is.
the focus. No planograms, that's not my vibe. It's like, yeah, each piece is its own thing.
Yeah.
So how do you come up with the inspiration so that like each table feels unique to wherever you're
Yeah, I mean,
catering to?
it kind of just happens that way. It's always in a different space. It's always with a different client, different events. Like we don't only do weddings. Weddings is actually kind of a smaller portion of our stuff. We do lots of the auxiliary kind of events around weddings, showers, gift openings, rehearsal,
Yeah.
dinners, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you know, like day of getting ready stuff, things like that. But yeah, inspiration. So, I mean, for each piece, the inspo comes from the event itself.
Yeah.
But I pull inspiration from so many things. Yeah, lots of, even just with like the cheesecakes, like I love bakers. Like baking is like such a cool thing to me. I'm not disciplined enough to, like have this recipe and follow it. And so I just like admire that so much. But yeah, the aesthetic of that is amazing to me. So I like to follow that. And yeah, just kind of art, food, florists. I'm super into following that as well. Yeah,
Your
food.
work is beautiful. Like you really
Aw,
can't
thank
go
you.
wrong.
Yeah,
Thank
I feel like
you.
every event that we've been to or that you've been a part of. And for people listening, they think like, oh, a grazing table, but like it's really kind of an entertainment factor almost for people because
Yeah,
it's so beautiful and you're right, it is art. It's amazing and it's fun to like go up and like look at it. Like it's a focal point for these events, really.
exactly. And that's yeah, that's kind of what I say. Like you don't have to worry too much about the decor. If you have one of our pieces, like that is the thing. Your people will be talking,
Yeah.
no matter what. So yeah.
And everyone loves cheese, so
Yeah, exactly. I know that's kind of like our tagline. It's like it's too pretty, almost too pretty to eat,
It is. It
yes.
Yeah,
truly is.
but it's also too delicious not to. So it's just like you got to make sure you're the first person to dig in, then everyone will kind of
Totally.
devour.
So what would you say, like, what are your top sellers when it comes to whether that's like the different, boxes or grazing tables that you sell, or even down to like the types of cheese? I'd love to know.
Yeah, I mean, what we've done, so with our platters and boards, what I've done is it's like, because I'm here, I'm doing it, each piece, like I'm literally creating each piece. So honestly, if it's not a big seller, it just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm constantly refining the menu. I release a new menu kind of every season, especially, coming out of COVID, like half of Brie Banquet's life was before COVID and half was or during COVID and now after. So it's like, yeah, I've been constantly adapting to what works, but I mean, grazing tables now are starting to pick up over the last year, of course, now that people are a little bit more open. Obviously, we're doing lots of the little like individual charcuterie boxes when we're a little bit worried about sharing food. But yeah, we also released our catering packages. So this is kind of like an inclusive. You kind of like pick different items, just really easy to make a small bites grazing table that's, you still have like a little cheese and charcuterie element in it, but it's not just focused on that. So we have that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Those are super popular. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like you really expanded and like
Yeah.
there's so much more to it.
You're like, everything is popular.
Yeah. Well, if it's not, it's just like gone.
Yeah.
Like it's not. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because there is definitely people who kind of like just associate with small bites. There's people who associate Brie Banquet just with charcuterie boxes and don't realize that we do large scale pieces. So yeah, it's kind of like however you first heard about it, people maybe stick on that, but yeah, we do have a full range. And a nice thing that I try to offer is smaller scale events where you can have this kind of like elaborate, more abundant setup for like 15 people, which is super uncommon. Usually you're buying in the dozens of dozens when it comes to small bites. So yeah, just offering that to those kind of like smaller scale events as well, and just making like catering in general more approachable and more interesting.
Yeah.
No, that's such a great idea, especially for like bachelorette parties or bridal showers or like things like that, where people don't think that they can have those elaborate spreads because there might only be 10 people.
Exactly. Yeah. And like, yeah, just like bridal brunches and baby showers, even, birthday parties, or where you have 20 people and you don't have to skip the dishes. You can have a really beautiful display.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we know that the wedding is only like a small portion of your business, but we are a wedding podcast. So we're curious, how do you cater yourself to the wedding market?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I talk to you guys, I do try and like stay out there and, keep my relationships with everyone. And yeah, because again, I'm like on the ground doing the thing. I'm creating the stuff. It's like, what do you guys need? What do you want to see? Work with planners. Yeah, I guess I do try to kind of like build a program that is like really easy. That way planners and brides that are doing it themselves that don't have planners, it's not like this overwhelming back and forth kind of like quoting thing where, like all of our pricing is online. It's super upfront, super simple. Yeah, just making it like really easy. Like the weddings, there's so much other stuff around it. And it's like, I hope that my brands, people can come into it knowing that it's going to be beautiful no matter what. And so they can, pick their menu items. They know what we have because it's all there. And then obviously with the aesthetic, it's like, from the very beginning, as far as weddings go, it was like, I wanted to bring something that was really beautiful where it's not like your wedding doesn't have the same food that this corporate event just had. It's like that should be different in my mind. And so just offering this super elevated, highly stylized visual as well, where it's like but also in a like obviously buffet style or help yourself graze style is considered a little bit more low key, but can have like such a beautiful setup that it really is luxurious as well.
Yeah, it's so true. And I like that you are upfront with, this is what you can build, make it your own. Here you go. Here's the information, because like, weddings are, a lot in themselves. So people don't have to, go through all of these processes of, okay, we want this, and then we want this. Can you quote me on this for this many people? And it's just easier for them to go on there, build it themselves and kind of see what works for them.
Yeah, you have a very approachable website. Like
Amazing.
It's very like user friendly. You could basically go order everything yourself without 100 back and forths.
Yeah, awesome. That's good. And sometimes people do want to talk to you, like, and I get that, and that's totally fine as well. But it's like, yeah, when you're kind of sitting there, you know, at midnight browsing, you can actually get somewhere, you know, and see something, and you don't have to wait to hear back. You can kind of see at least what you're looking at. And also with that, there's like no hidden costs. Like I often get that from brides that are reaching out, like, but okay, what else is there, you know? And it's like, no, this really is it. Like, yeah. And they're like, well, is there anything that I should know about that isn't on here? And you know, that like makes me sad and bummed out that, you know, like, yeah, no, really is it.
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So would you say when it comes to weddings, people probably order like boxes or stuff for the morning per se, and then do people contact you to do their like cocktail hour food, or even like the main component? Like what aspects of the wedding would you like cater to, I guess?
Yeah, so I do quite a few rehearsal dinners. That's like a big piece of it. Also getting ready like in the morning, do kind of like brunch pieces for that. Yeah, but you know, where it's a little bit more not casual, but like backyard weddings, you know, you guys know, and most people maybe do in the industry, like venues are kind of specific about what caterers that they allow or don't allow in. So yeah, for the actual wedding piece and the actual dinner piece, it generally is, you know, a little bit kind of different or unique venues that I'm in.
Totally.
But I mean, there is some venues that do allow that. And so yeah, cocktail hour is another popular one as well. And then every once in a while we'll get like midnight lunch.
Oh, fun. I never thought of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, especially for like the small bites. It's really cool because we have some like little cute fun things like these little hot doggies that have like, you know, truffle ketchup. So it's just like these cute, fun, like tasty bites that are just like, you know, a little bit like fancy. Yeah.
We're gonna leave this podcast all hungry talking about ketchup and cheese.
Yeah, I should have sent you guys a little box.
Right. So how do you guide couples? Like, I think a big question, like for us, is people are like, how much do I order?
Yeah, totally.
I find that maybe I shouldn't say this, but I find that like sometimes catering companies and venues like quote so much for them, and I'm like, you guys don't need that much for like a cocktail hour or like things like that. So like, how do you guide people? I'd love to hear like what you recommend in terms of like how many bites you need per person and things like that.
It's hard again because I know that that's how some other companies are, and because I hear it all the time too. And that I will tell them, you know, this is what I recommend, or most of our stuff now is based on serving size. So it's like, how many people do you have? Okay, this is how many you should get then, you know, like super simple. But then of course, because of this like kind of dynamic out there in the catering world, they're like, oh, should we actually get 20% less or should we get 20% more? And it's just like exhausting. Like, that's so like, what's going on out there? You know, I'm like, no, if there's, you know, 50 people, get 50 people serving size, you know, like that's. So I, again, just in my effort to try and simplify things for everyone, most of our pieces, including like grazing tables and the small bites tables and the catering things, are based per person. So you're getting, you know, it's as far as small bites go, really it's anywhere from 3 to 7 pieces.
Okay, yeah.
But it depends, like, exactly. It's like,
what it is.
what are you doing this for? Are you eating 1 hour after? What time does it start? You know, if an event that starts, you know, at 1 o'clock is going to be very different than an event that starts at 6 o'clock, you know, when people are expecting dinner. So, yeah, I just try to keep it.
It's hard to say an exact like science behind it. It's kind of like all based off of every event, and like for us, for instance, for late night snack, where like you don't need 100 people worth of late night snack necessarily, because people will have left and things. So it kind of depends on timing too.
Right, exactly. Timing's a big thing. But again, it's like, if you're just working on like serving sizes, it's like that's a definitive to me, you know? And so, but yeah, exactly. If you have 150 people at your wedding, and for midnight lunch, for example, you're not going to have all of those people, but the serving size is still the serving size.
Yeah,
know?
per person.
Yeah, exactly. Per person. Yeah.
Exactly. So is there any like funky behind the scene things that happen in your business that would be helpful for couples or people booking with you to know to better prepare?
That's such an interesting question. I don't know. Like I just try, like there's so much that happens behind the scenes, you know? As far as ordering, like cheese ordering is challenging. Supply chain issues, challenging. You know, I try to stay on top of it. Of course, I usually am on top of it. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, but I would say, yeah, if you're looking at like custom stuff and custom like cheesecakes, cheese does take time to get in, and cheese is also seasonal, so sometimes people don't realize that. There's some like, there's some super special, though it may be kind of like common, but yeah, there's lots of cheeses that are kind of only made at certain times of year, or we only can get them shipped here at certain times of year.
No idea.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you're kind of getting into some like, pardon? It's like flowers. Yeah. Not that extreme, but yeah, definitely. So yeah, kind of even when with our cheese wheel towers, we do with the custom pieces, we do a tasting. And so you kind of like pick your cheeses. So I'm constantly being mindful what cheeses I'm showing, what I'm not showing, based on that. And then for all of our like general options, those cheeses are always available. So it won't really be like, you know,
for the grazing tables, is it like people pick all their options, or you just kind of choose what's in season, what goes well together? Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, in my mind, I would want to pick. And so I have, if someone were to know about cheese or to specifically say, I want these ones, then of course I would work with them on that. But most people really don't want to pick, you know, they're just like, so we do the kind of most popular ones, but also it's like, you know, the bride and groom, for example, might come in here, do the tasting, but it's not just about what they like either. It's like, if you're getting a cheesecake and the bottom wheel is, you know, however many kgs of cheese, everybody needs to like that cheese, you know, otherwise you're going to have loads left over. So there's like pieces like that as well, that I am thinking of, and just like based on experience and having done it, you know, you're like, oh, this kind of came up. So yeah, it's the cheese thing is, you're
the expert for a reason.
But also, it's like there's like consistently cheeses that people will choose without realizing that those, like, everybody's picking the same one. So even initially when I started Brie Banquet, you did choose which cheeses you want, but it ended up being like so repetitive that it was like, okay, these are the ones that people want. So you can add on these specialty cheeses. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, people are kind of into the same thing. And you want to try something a little bit different here and there, but yeah, it also needs to be like appealing to all your guests, you know?
Some people are like cheese people that are like, I'll eat anything. Like my dad, if it's cheese,
Right.
he'll try anything.
Right.
If it smells horrible, he's like, let me try that. Or there's people that are like, I hate blue cheese, like get that away from me. And I'm sticking to like my brie. So you have to, feed the masses, and
there's like this balance, right, between, and you know, like the top layers of a cheesecake are, you know, generally smaller. So those are the ones where you can kind of, you know, like push it a little bit or have something a little bit more unique, or, you know.
Yeah. Totally. So how much time do you typically need when people want to order for large events? Like what's the time frame?
So I can be pretty quick, actually, pretty quick turnaround. So you guys are gonna think I'm crazy.
Baby.
I say 48 hours.
Wow.
Like whip out a wedding in 48 hours.
I have, however, don't do that to yourself or to me. We're obviously going to be limited and there's no guarantees. We're super tiny micro catering company, right? So I always say once you have your date, we have kind of like a save the date deposit. So you just pay the deposit just to save your date. There's only one of me. I'm the only one who does on-site setups for Brie Banquet. So in that way, it's kind of like, you know, a photographer. It's like there's only me. So if those days that are typically most popular, those get booked out, and then that's it. So but we also do offer on aside from the setup where you can just pick up the pieces as well. It's kind of like an a la carte menu for delivery or pickup. So those are generally the ones that we can kind of like hammer out quickly.
And do you typically like stay on site and like kind of serve them, or like you just set up and you out?
Exactly. Yeah. So we don't offer any service or cleanup. Again, just minimizing costs, making it more accessible to everyone. I found that most people wanted to do that themselves anyways. Didn't know what time, you know, things were going to be done. And I mean, staffing's a big problem. So in the city right now. So anytime I'm kind of like back and forth on the idea, it's like, we keep it kind of serve yourself. Everything's okay to be eaten, you know, at room temperature for a lengthy time frame. So
I like it.
So how do you come up with the different ideas and concepts to keep everything fun and fresh?
Again, that's just like getting inspiration from literally everywhere, you know, art, food, florists, you know, even designers like fashion. Trying new restaurants, trying new things. I also you know, get certifications in cheese and wine, and constantly learning and listening to my clients. I'm usually the one that people talk to. So and also being a micro business, I have my hands on everything, you know, so it's really super easy for me to adapt, change the website, you know, change everything. So sometimes I just get ideas and then I just do them, and then it's there, you know.
And you've done like collaborations with other
definitely. I love that. There's people that inspire me here in Calgary and lots of different areas as well. In the wedding industry, of course, you guys know of some of those. But I also, you know, out there chatting with, you know, other cheese professionals in the space and bakers. I like to hang out with those gals and chat and guys. One.
Yeah, I know who you're referring to. He called himself a gal, so don't worry.
Yeah, totally.
What is your favorite, like, what is your favorite thing to make, I guess, and consume? I'm so curious.
Oh, that's too hard.
Come
it totally
on,
depends. Okay, so it's a notoriously favorite thing of mine. It's actually like one of my favorite bites that I finally just shared with like the world.
You're like, it's fine.
Yeah, just so you know. So it's our triple cream krauts. It's like they're like croutes, these little toasts, with a true triple cream. So there's actual triple cream brie, which is like, almost the texture of like butter or like icing, from France. And I have this small batch pistachio cream that I put with it, and it is like ridiculous. Ridiculous bite.
I need to try more of your stuff. I'm obsessed with
it. You should. We always have a booth now. Last year was our first year at Taste of Calgary, so you can find us there if you just want to have like a couple of sample bites. And then also at Rocky Mountain Wine and Food Festival. So
okay, good to know.
Yeah, then just come and try and chat with us and try a couple bites and see what our vibe is. And that's where we launched the triple cream croutes. And they were a hit. Wild, I'm sure. Yeah, it's so funny because it's like my favorite bite, right? But I like some crazy cheeses, I'm like down. So it's always like kind of, you're questioning, like, are other people gonna like get this like I get this? And they do.
They do. You know what you do. Okay, tell us more about the structure of the cheesecake, like more like, is it like, how do people build this? How do people consume this? Like, tell us how it works.
Okay.
I'm envisioning a cheesecake with the cheese cut in the back, and this is just for display. So
no, that would be so wildly expensive if you had to have two full cheeses. So, common question: is it real? The cheese tiers are real. We do have a couple of falsies.
Yeah, as every cake does.
Yeah. For the big, like the super big layers at the bottom, that is an option, but majority of the ones that you see are all real meals. So, I mean, the cakes kind of start at the custom cakes that you guys have seen are the really big kind of 100 to 200 people cakes. Those guys are like between $500 and $900.
Yeah.
So, and we do have to order them in as full wheels. So they are ordered specifically for the client. Okay. So yeah, there is not a fake one for show. And then one for cutting. So it is kind of like a wedding cake in that you pay the plating fee to your vendor, and they will cut up the cheese. Generally, they have somebody there who knows how to cut up cheese. Occasionally, I'll have to give kind of like a little list, like with this cheese, tier number 3, you cannot eat the rind. So cut the rind off.
That's smart.
Pardon?
That's smart directions, because some people don't know that.
Yeah, and you would think that the venues with the kitchen team would know, but that's okay. So yeah, definitely if it's a client that's having a venue that isn't cutting it up, definitely we'll give full instruction on that. But yeah, you kind of disassemble it, cut it. It's much easier to process than one would think. I know it's intimidating. Cheese is still a super intimidating thing to people, and I get it. But yeah, so start to finish, you kind of come in for a consultation. We talk about size, budget, before you even come in, so that I'm not showing you cheeses that are, way out of your price range. Also, the wheel size is the wheel size, so that is not changeable. So, it's going to be a certain serving size, price range. So again, in that consultation, it's like, I will not present cheeses that are out of your serving size or out of your budget. So yeah, that's kind of another background thing that maybe doesn't get thought about, but I am thinking about it. So you can kind of go into it and just, you come in, try a bunch of different cheeses. So you'll kind of have different choices for each layer. That's how it's done. So you'll kind of choose your bottom layer, middle, depending on budget. Again, because some are going to be a little bit different, we might have to cut out one layer, to give you a little bit more expensive if your favorite cheese is a little bit more for like the third layer or whatever, so yeah, come in, choose your cheeses, we order it up. With the custom cheesecakes, like for a wedding, for example, those do need to be ordered. We need to do the consultation at least 6 weeks before the date. Yeah, at least. The longer the better. That's not true. The more time that we know it's happening, the better, but we won't do the actual consultation tasting more than 8 weeks before, just because some cheeses won't be available, or they might not be at their prime at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
I love that you're honest and you steer people in the right direction of like what you can actually afford in their budget.
Exactly.
Rather than just like, hey, I have like 20 cheese choices, then we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah. And then I'll try and push you in this direction that you can't be like, no. And like, what a bummer. Like, I always kind of do it where it's like, how would I want this to go down if I was on that side, and imagine like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best cheese ever. And it's like, oh, you can only have that one.
Oh,
like,
you
don't get a cake.
That'd be like us showing our clients like this elaborate, crazy kind of being like, you can't afford this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, or it's not in your budget, or like,
exactly.
Chair, but it's not in the budget.
Exactly. Or like, like a dress or something where they're like, oh, try this one on. And it's like, oh yeah, you can actually afford that. So
try it on.
Yeah.
How are these cakes meant to be served? Like, so the kitchen cuts it up. Is it meant to be then put like grazing style, or is it meant to then be like past plated?
Like grazing style. Exactly. So you kind of would generally the wedding cakes are about 5 tiers. That's kind of like looks the nicest, like most balanced, and offers like a amazing variety, right? So we offer as well, you can get like the cracker and accompaniment add-on. It's like, so then we send out the just crackers and some like simple accompaniments that go with those cheeses. And then you kind of cut it up and just piles of cheese.
Love that.
Yeah.
So we know that you have another side to your business, but other people might not know. Why don't you tell us about your wine and cheese pairing events that you do with Danny Anderson?
Yeah, so Brie Banquet has this wine and cheese kind of tasting pairing side as well. So we kind of have like 3 tiers, if you will. I just launched a cheese bar option. So that's kind of like the piles of cheese, like we just talked about. But that is where we come in and we'll just set those up with cards, like description cards, speaking to the cheese. So those are great for like wine tastings or, you can, apply this to any event really, but and then we have the pairing stations. So that is where I've done wine with 2 pairing bites. We have signage, we go in, set it up, and then leave. So it's kind of like self-guided pairing party.
Nice.
And then there's this kind of more luxury, kind of informative workshop style that I either do on my own or with Danny. Since we launched that, I've actually got certified in the WSET wine as well. But obviously it's amazing when Danny's there with me.
Yeah.
So much more fun. You guys know.
Yeah.
As a team. So yeah, Danny speaks to the wine, I speak to the cheese and the pairings, and we just have like a very fun time, a little bit information, but lots of fun, interactive, deliciousness.
I loved it. I went to like the little event that you guys had, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. Like, this is so good for like birthdays, like big events, obviously big events like milestone birthdays, that kind of stuff. Like, that's such a good like bachelorette idea. Like, that would be my idea of a bachelorette. Like, I'm not going out to the club and like with my high heels. Like, I want to be in my house in my comfy clothes, and I want to be talking about wine and cheese.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
You know me, that's what I did. We ate cheese and drank wine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. It's just like a little bit more structured, and where you're kind of, it's just a bit more thoughtful tasting, if you will.
Yeah, it's so good. I think everything that you offer is just awesome, and my mouth is literally watering talking. So tell everyone where they can find you online, where they can order, where they can creep all these cheesecakes and see what we're talking about.
Yeah, so we are on Instagram. That's kind of like our portfolio, if you will, of lots of super visual brand. So it's at Brie and Banquet, because they won't let you use an and sign. So BRIE and Banquet. And then our website is Brie and Banquet, again with AND.com.
Nice. Honestly, and if nothing else, just go creep her Instagram, because it's so aesthetically pleasing. And I can't believe you take all those photos yourself. You're so good at it.
I mean, it's so easy. Food is just so beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the food that you make is beautiful. If I take a picture of the food that I make, people will be like, what the hell is this? Thank you so much for coming on, Katie. We appreciate you sharing all your knowledge. You can just tell that you love it so much. And we know that you love it because it speaks in your food and the way it tastes. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.